Welcome everybody to the January 15th meeting of the Quincy Planning Board. At the start, I'll take a roll call.
Member Kelly present.
Larry Liuzzo present.
Kimberly Beelan present.
Christian Mead present.
PJ Foley present.
Great. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. The board requests that you please be courteous to the proceedings and turn off your cell phones. The planning board reserves the right to administer oaths through the chair, summon witnesses, call for the production of papers, cross-examine any person giving testimony during the proceedings, declare recess, limit debate, inspect the subject site or buildings during reasonable hours, and adjourn the hearing for cause. The order of business will be announced by myself. All questions will be directed through the chair. Any person wishing to speak, please raise your hand for recognition. When recognized, please stand, state your name and address, specific interests in the proceedings, and special credentials, if any, pertaining to the presentation. Please speak slowly and within the context of the hearing matter. The hearing is being stenographed and taped for the public record. The planning board reserves the right to exclude any unnecessary, irrelevant, repetitive, or harassing presentations. The first item on the business agenda is to vote on the minutes of the December 18th planning board meeting.
Move to approve.
Second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. That is unanimous. The next matter is a continued public hearing for 61 to 69 and 71 Hancock Street, planning board case number 2024-12.
Good evening. Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board. My name's Tom Cavanaugh. I don't know what's going on there. I'll back up. I'm an attorney here in Quincy. Myself and Dave Mahoney both represent the applicant, Tremont Quincy 1 LLC. As you may remember, we were back before you in November, where we did a full presentation, answered a bunch of questions. Since then, we've had the opportunity to respond to the peer review from Fuss and O'Neill, as well as the comments from both TPAL as well as DPW. We've responded to them in memo form. And I believe that based on our responses to their comments that we've responded adequately, and the team is all here. They're standing behind me and they're here to answer any further questions that you may have.
Okay, let me see, does anybody have any follow-up questions? Okay, so it is a public hearing, so I will just ask if anybody has a desire to speak on this application. You can come up to the podium, or you can also sign in. There are sign-in sheets. You can sign in for, against, neutral, just say you're present. So going once, going twice. Okay. All right, so do we want to close the public hearing?
Move to close. Public hearing.
Second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And does the department have a recommendation?
Yes, we do, Madam Chair, through you to the board. After consideration of the site plan, accompanying documents, and the comments received from city staff and the peer review consultant, the department recommends the board approve the site plan review under Quincy zoning ordinance Title 17, Section 9.5.1, site plan review and special permit under Section 5.1.17 parking waiver, subject to the below listed special and general conditions. Special condition 1, the applicant shall comply with the City of Quincy inclusionary zoning ordinance, Section 7. The applicant shall submit an IZO application to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Committee prior to the issuance of a building permit. A decision by the committee shall be made on the subject property prior to the issuance of a temporary or final occupancy permit. 2, the applicant shall submit a construction management plan to be filed and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. This shall include the locations of stockpile and/or staging areas for construction equipment and materials. The applicant shall also address construction period traffic impacts by providing a detailed sequence of construction and addressing any space constraints and detailing how they'll be addressed as construction progresses. 3, the applicant shall reconstruct the sidewalk along the entire property frontage of 61 to 69 and 71 Hancock Street and 53 and 55 Hancock Street to Densmore Street with cement concrete, broom finish with border and joint tools, and granite curb. The ADA accessible handicap ramp shall be installed at the corner of Hancock Street and Newbury Street. The existing crosswalk connecting Densmore Street to the Neponset Bridge pedestrian off-ramp shall be repainted. Final design specifications shall be reviewed and approved by the city engineer. 4, the applicant shall conduct and provide to the planning director a parking monitoring analysis 2 years after an occupancy permit has been issued to determine if the project is meeting its parking demand. If the ratio exceeds the projected ratios, additional TDM or transportation demand measures to encourage transit use may be required. 5, the applicant shall obtain a drain permit from the Department of Public Works prior to the issuance of a building permit. 6, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall perform a water flow test with the city's water department. 7, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the existing sewer main and manhole shall be inspected with television pre-development in order to check the condition of the system. The proposed sewer service pipe and the connection to the main shall be inspected with television post-development. The television report shall be submitted to the Department of Public Works for assessment. 8, the proposed stormwater system in connection to the drain line shall be inspected with television post-development. The television report shall be submitted to the Department of Public Works for assessment. 9, the City of Quincy and the city's designated representatives shall observe the construction of the stormwater management system at the following times: upon completion of excavation, upon completion of chamber and crushed stone installation, prior to backfill, and the applicant shall provide 72 hours notice for said inspections. 10, prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit, the applicant shall submit an operation and maintenance plan for the project stormwater system, which shall include the following: snow management plan, including how winter salt or sand will be used and how snow will be removed, identification of any limitation on the use of salt or de-icing chemicals. Inspections shall be conducted by a civil engineer or environmental scientist. Records of inspections and maintenance shall be up to date and available for review and inspection. Prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit, the maintenance plan shall be recorded at the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. 11, the applicant shall coordinate with the city engineering office to identify which responsible party owners will be responsible for the maintenance of portions of the new drainage system and to determine whether an easement plan is necessary. 12, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall provide calculations for the proposed domestic water service, for the proposed sewer flow and capacity of the sewer main, and for the wastewater flows and measures to offset increased flows. 13, the applicant shall consult with the Quincy Health Department on noise mitigation measures for the construction-related noise-generating activities to comply with local and state regulations. 14, the applicant shall submit a written rodent control plan to the Quincy Health Department for review and approval prior to any site activity. Said plan must be designed for the duration of the project and include at minimum the following: name and contact information of a licensed pest control operator to be retained by the project proponent for the duration of the project. Scope of the proposed plan for control of rodents, including number, location, and monitoring frequency of bait stations, as well as the anticipated length of service. 15, the applicant shall develop and submit a written dust control plan to the Quincy Health Department for review and approval prior to any site activity. Said dust control plan is to be implemented during any site activities to ensure compliance with state air quality regulations. 16, upon completion of construction, the applicant shall submit a report including certified as-built plan from a professional engineer or surveyor certifying that the stormwater management system has been constructed in accordance with the approved plans. The report should include a certification that the excavations with the proposed system were inspected prior to backfilling. The applicant shall also provide to the city engineer the digital file as-built plan showing all utilities, building footprints, reference bounds, and benchmarks defining the total site, facility, and rights of way, along with an AutoCAD file. The as-built plan shall be in Mass State Plan Coordinate System. The plan should be stamped and signed by a professional land surveyor or professional engineer. 17, upon completion of the project, the applicant shall submit a stamped affidavit from a registered professional engineer that all the utilities, water, sewer, and drain are constructed as designed and no illicit connections are found on the completed project site. That would conclude the department's recommendation.
Okay, great. And just one clarifying, I guess, question, because I didn't ask it before. I asked for the department's recommendation. We had left this open for a public hearing, just confirming all of the items that we had discussed at the last hearing were addressed. Just in terms of, you know, that we had left it open so that they could submit more information.
Correct.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
So based on the department's recommendation, does anybody have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the 17 special conditions read aloud by Mr. Stevens.
And to grant the relief?
And, yes.
Okay, great. Okay, So that was Member Kelly, Member Foley. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Great.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a nice project. Okay. The next item on our agenda is also a continued public hearing. It's 150, 152, and 156 Quincy Street, Planning Board Case Number 2024-11.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. For the record, Edward Fleming here on behalf of Neighbor Works. I'll step back.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Sorry. I didn't steal any shot. You might want to. Testing.
We'll fix that for the next meeting.
That's odd, huh? Must have been just yours. Yeah, I don't know. All right, I don't know, okay. We're good.
Yeah.
As you indicated, Madam Chair, this is a continued matter from the November 20th meeting date. Rather than hearing from me, I'd like to turn this over to the architect and the engineer to kind of walk you through the changes that have been made, hopefully to address the comments and concerns of this board, but also the comments and concerns of the peer review and the city departments. So, Michael?
See how this goes. Any popping? Okay, great. So good evening, everyone. Mike Marauder from Westwork Architects. So I've highlighted the changes from some of the comments that we received from you. Yeah, the first one was concerning parking space number 7 at the top of the page. What we've done is we've moved the trash recycle area back, and we've moved the curve over to the left. And we've shown you the radius now, so that parking space now, number 7, of course, with the gates closed, we'll have no problem backing out and maneuvering through the parking area. The other comment we received from you was concerning the handicap ramp at the entry off of Quincy Street. We've lowered the location by a couple of feet, and what that does now is it just allows us to have a little bit of extra length. The concern was that right now it was designed literally to the limit to get you to 1 in 12. So now we've built in some tolerance for, of course, when we get into the site and when we get to the actual spot grades, we should be able to hit the 1 in 12 now because we have a little bit more room for additional grading there. The other comment we had was for landscaping and screening of the parking area. So we've highlighted off of Quincy Street some additional vegetation that wasn't there before. It's a mix of boxwoods, winter jasmine, and rhododendrons. I just want to be careful not to make it too high, so I was trying to keep within about a 48-inch height for the new plantings. And there is a 48-inch decorative metal fence in that area as well. And the last comment we had was for the existing light pole off of Quincy Street. There's a low utility line, and so we've added a note. It's hard to read from this here, but the note is just making sure during construction that utility line is protected. And I think that generally covers the comments that we got from the architectural drawings. I think the next sheet might be the landscaping drawing, because I did just revise it. If we have the next sheet, please. Yeah. So we've just provided, we've updated the schedule and have given you the new species that we're proposing off of Quincy Street for the screening for the parking. And I believe next it will be Jim's drawings.
Great. Does anybody have any questions?
Right now,
Great.
no.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Good evening, Jim Burke with the Selberg Sala offices here in Quincy, and we did the civil site design and made some revisions that kind of correlate with exactly what Mike was talking about earlier. Revised the dumpster location, the walkway. Given the walkway, and there was a concern in regards to the tolerance with regards to the handicap accessibility. I mean, we're right up against it in the original design, and moving that ramp out, as Mike explained, asked, put it right in the construction tolerances, so it should be easy to hit. That added to, then I added some other spot grades for the reconstruction of the sidewalk itself, and kind of further defined the parking lot, just made it a little bit more clear for the construction. We added snow storage and signage and a signature block. And I'd say that's about it. Thanks a lot.
So there was a continuous efforts really over the last couple of months to really address any of the outstanding comments. We think this is a great proposal. NeighborWorks has actually got a funding request with the state for funding and financing of the proposal that's actually due to be voted on next month. So the hope was that we could move this matter forward tonight as best we could. We tried to address really all the outstanding comments as best we could. I know in speaking with Mr. Stevens, there's a few kind of odd end items that he's continuing to wait on. One of them, by the way, is a traffic comment letter, but we really don't anticipate any traffic from this proposal. In fact, I think the conversation we had with you last time was that many of these folks are transitioning from homelessness into housing for the first time, and as a result, these folks do not have vehicles. Really, the only vehicles that will be coming to and from the site are really going to be staff that's going to be working within the facility and providing the services to these tenants. So we don't anticipate any real major concerns or any concerns related to traffic, but I'll leave that to Mr. Stevens.
Great. Any questions? So, do you? Okay. So this is a continued public hearing, so we do want to open it up in case anybody would like to provide a comment. You can come speak at the podium, or there are sign-in sheets. This is, again, on 150, 152, and 156 Quincy Street. So if anybody would like to be heard on this. Okay. All right, great. So I think we can probably close the public hearing, if you agree, Mr. Stevens.
I would just acknowledge, I've had a few conversations with Ed this week. We are waiting on a traffic comment letter. The department does not have a prepared recommendation. However, recognizing the proponent is a longtime nonprofit housing developer in the city and the struggles of finding financing, I think this is a good project. We did hear from the community, I think, the last meeting. There's an opportunity today. I think a lot of what the proposal is the proposal. I could agree with Ed that, the traffic, some of the landscaping may be discussed, but I don't see any changes resulting from any comments, just some minor improvements, perhaps. So I am comfortable with closing the public hearing and allowing the department a little time to finish up a recommendation. I would even be comfortable if the board would, consider a vote even tonight, and the department could prepare a full recommendation and present that to the body at the next meeting in February. Again, I think that's part of the argument Ed, Attorney Fleming here has discussed is when you're chasing some of the state and federal dollars, to have a permit in hand is a different kind of conversation. This agency is a long time in the city. I think many of you on this board had a chance to review their project over on Winter Street, which is very similar, taking three aged structures that they've been trying to work their program with, and then investing in them and investing in the city and improving that operation. The need is still there, unfortunately, but I think that's the sentiment of myself and probably the department, if you would agree, Jim.
I would definitely.
Yeah, so I think, as a department, we are comfortable to try to help these folks out as they try to construct very valuable housing that fits a niche that's very important here in the city.
Okay, great. So we'll need a motion to close.
So, Madam Chair, just one
Yes,
last
oh,
thing.
yes.
So, I think it's a good thing that you're helping out the people who are less fortunate in the city of Quincy. That being said, the people in Quincy that can construct this project would really enjoy working on a project in Quincy. So the men and women of Quincy would really appreciate it if you would give them consideration when hiring someone to build a project. So thank you. That being said, I will close the public hearing.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And then I think we need a motion to approve the application and to direct the department to draft a favorable recommendation.
For the next meeting on February 19th.
And that will be in the business
So,
component because the
yeah,
public hearing.
point of clarification, so we approve it and then we just finalize the
The decision
decision?
consistent with, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, again, we got a little bit of a late comment on the city side, and I just want to allow an opportunity for that comment to come forward and potentially be addressed. I'm not anticipating any drastic comments or any type of off-site mitigation. I think as Attorney Fleming or as the project spoke for itself, it's a vulnerable population. It's not, they're requesting a parking waiver, so the department's comfortable with that number. Again, we've seen that before. Director Fatsis.
Through you, Chair Beelen. I also want to point out that this group has come before the Affordable Housing Trust and reached a very, very positive outcome there as well. This is, again, very organic, very Quincy. When we're giving money from the Affordable Housing Trust, obviously, we're doing our own due diligence. I am the chair of the trust, so that's what I'm testifying as. So we are comfortable, and we don't really set a precedent here. We've done this before, but we don't do it a lot, where we would actually close a meeting and have a decision. But again, as as Deputy Director Stevens mentioned, some of the response to peer review is on the city. We're busy, as you can imagine, so that's why we want to do this right, have the proper amount of time to document this process so that, again, just to let the board know that there has been another board that's already looked at this project with a great deal of scrutiny as well, that I happen to chair. So with that, thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to approve?
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None? Okay, so that's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. The next matter on the agenda is another continued public hearing, 11 McGrath Highway, Planning Board, case number 2024-14.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Again, Edward Fleming on behalf of the applicant, the Galvin QS Development Company. As you know, this is a continued public hearing as well. We've done a lot of work. I mean, Jim Burke has worked very diligently in working with the peer review and the city departments to address all the comments, and we're very comfortable that we've reached a final resolution on a lot of these matters. We'll continue to work through the building permit process as well with the city's DPW department and others to ensure that all the matters are appropriately addressed. My client, Sean Galvin, and Jim Burke, his engineer, are here tonight. So Sean, would you like to address the board and just kind of highlight?
Sure. Good evening, I'm Sean Galvin. As a continuation of our presentation from the last meeting, we received peer review comments, DPW comments, traffic, TPAL comments, and responded to them all. I think through our communications with the planning department, we satisfied all of those questions that were asked of us and responded with answers which seemed to work. We made some adjustments to the plan to accommodate a little bit of parking, a little bit of flow. Spaces in the garage were relocated. We clarified some issues in regard to the landscape plan, making sure it was available. But overall, I think that we had satisfied most of the questions that came through the planning department, and we're here and available to answer any additional questions that the board might have.
And I just wanted to highlight as well, I think last time we were here, we talked about this, 3 city councils that represent this district, and Councilor Mitten was here, and he had requested that we attend a neighborhood meeting. We did attend a neighborhood meeting, actually, right here in this building, in this room. And I think the project overall was well received. We answered questions that the neighbors had as well. But we didn't really get any real pushback or concerns from the community.
Excuse me, Counsel, was it determined what ward it's in?
Yeah. I think we decided it was Ward 1.
It is one.
It's
Thank
actually Ward 1, yeah. It's across the street as Councilor Mittens.
Thank you very
But there was, I should say, there was a question one of the neighbors raised about traffic and traffic-related concerns. I believe she lived right within the neighborhood on the street in the rear. And she had raised some questions, and we talked about the fact that this was under peer review, that it was gonna be, that not only did the peer review the traffic, but also the city's traffic department did as well. And I just want to assure her, as we did that night, that this underwent a significant amount of review, and that we could assure her that the traffic professionals would make sure that any steps that were necessary that would be taken to ensure that she wasn't going to have any traffic-related concerns in her neighborhood. And I'm not sure if she might be here tonight.
So does that concludes your
That
presentation?
concludes our
All right.
presentation. I don't know that it's necessary for Mr. Burke to present, but if there's any questions about engineering, he's certainly here.
Okay, great. Does anybody have any specific questions?
Just one thing, I just want to comment, I think it's going to be a nice project. I was up there the other day looking at the decrepit nursing home up there, and I really like the design of the building, but I would ask you, Mr. Galvin, like I ask all the developers in the city, please to consider the men and women in the city of Quincy. They would love to work on a project of this. So, thank you.
Okay, so this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on this application? You can speak for or against. Yes, ma'am. Yep. And yes, yep. And you just identify your name and address as well. And just while you're making your way, I'll just remind others if they just want to sign in, there's a sign-in sheet too. You can sign for or against. So,
Hi,
Hi.
thank you. So we own 2 properties behind it. We talked to Mr. Gavin the last time. I wasn't able to make the meeting. Just a question on the
I'm sorry.
dumpster.
Could you just provide your name for the record?
Oh, sure, I'm sorry, Cindy DePalma.
Thank you.
So again, we couldn't make it last time. Just a question on the dumpster. Is there only one dumpster or?
There is just the one dumpster.
Okay. So your dumpster will butt up against our property where our dumpster is? Or is there another spot that, just to control rodent control? I mean, we do our own with Ladybug as it is now. So where? So we're 8 and 14, so I think this is us. Yeah, right here. So their dumpsters here and our dumpsters, right, is about the same area. Or actually, our dumpsters here, the way that's built. I think it's right here. So
Okay.
close to each other.
Okay.
And what your schedule would be for pickup? Is it once a week or?
You can just direct the questions right through
Oh,
the board,
sorry.
and then, no, that's
Okay.
okay, and then, yeah, we'll get.
Is it a
answers to
once a
them.
week pickup or
Twice a week.
twice a week? Just didn't know if there was another spot that it could go in, just so that the 2 wouldn't be back to back. And I don't know if you discussed it last time, when you plan to start to knock it down?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I
so,
don't
yeah,
know.
so, no, so just address
Sorry.
your questions, and then we'll get answers.
Yeah,
So,
okay. So when is it scheduled to be
Yeah.
knocked down? And what will be put in, I think we discussed it last time with Mr. Gavin when we went to conservation about the rodent control when it's being knocked down, and then also dust control.
Yep.
That's it.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Thank you. So, I don't know if you want to address any of those, yeah.
Actually, I think that the fact that dumpsters are back-to-back is actually a good thing in terms of location. If there are to be any rodent issues, at least it's kind of in an area where we can treat it. We will have a full-time rodent control plan throughout the operation of the building. Just in general, being near the river, it's going to be an issue. We actually have a 24-unit apartment building just down Elm Street, about 3 blocks away from this, and it's the same thing. We have a full-time rodent plan that we enforce to deal with any, rats, mice, those types of things. We'll have that same project, yeah. I did actually walk through with the health department for a preliminary walkthrough the other day. We did discuss, there are bait traps around this building now. During construction, we're going to increase those, and we'll have a plan that we'll submit along with the demolition plan for the health department. And they do require a full extermination of the building prior to the demolition. We'll conform with all the city regulations in regard to that. It's our intention to begin demolition on the building as soon as possible. Realistically, that's probably in 30 to 45 days. We have done the full remediation on asbestos for the building already, and we're in the process of removing just miscellaneous items that the health department requested us.
Great. And just to address, there are conditions, and you'll hear them tonight in every one of our decisions, rodent control and dust control too. So those plans will be submitted to the Quincy Health Department as well. Yes, Council.
Good evening, Board. Dave McCarthy, 48 Whitney Road, Ward 1 Councilor. Yeah, after debate with Ward 2 and Ward 5, Ward 1 won out. You can see because they're not here tonight. It's a great project. We all know that nursing home and in the area there needs some cleaning up, especially that nursing home area. One of the things Mr. Galvin did at the community meeting with Mr. Fleming, Mr. Burke, and myself, and also Councilor Minton was there and Councilor Ash, because we know, it kind of borders everything. He touched on everything. He touched on traffic. He touched on Bigelow Street. The town brook came up. We talked about parking, which I think he has done a great job, adequate parking in there, in those units. And the character of the building, I think, as you folks have seen, is a little old-fashioned looking. And I love that. So that historic look, that setback is really going to improve the area. I also know that I've reached out to Eddie Grennan, director at TPAL, and Ali Rule, traffic engineer, to do a little bit more extensive look at Bigelow Street to see if we can improve that in regards to cut-throughs, signage, etc. We know that Mr. Galvin's going to do a nice job with that area, and we figured we could just extend all the way down towards Miller Style and then out towards Washington Street also. So it's going to be a vast improvement in that area and get a very tired nursing home out of there, and things will really brighten up. So Mr. Galvin's done a very good job. We have a great rapport with him and his team, so we can work out any smaller issues like the dumpsters or anything like that that need to be juggled around. So I feel very confident about the program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Is there any more public comment on this application? No? Okay. Board, any more questions? Everything's good? Okay. Great. So hearing none, so that's complete. I think we can close the public hearing. I don't know if there's a motion.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so Mr. Kelly and Mr. Foley, all those in favor?
Aye.
And does the department have a recommendation?
Great. Yep, we do. Through you, Madam Chair, to the board, after consideration of the site plan accompanying documents and comments received from the city staff and the peer review consultant, the department recommends the board approve special permits under sections 8.3 Quincy Center Districts, 8.1.9, and 5.1.17 parking waiver, subject to the below listed special and general conditions. 1, the applicant shall obtain all applicable findings, variances, and special permits if needed from the City of Quincy Zoning Board of Appeal. 2, the applicant shall comply with the City of Quincy Inclusionary Zoning Ordinance, Section 7. The applicant shall submit an IZO application to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Committee prior to the issuance of a building permit. A decision by the committee shall be made on the subject property prior to the issuance of a temporary or final occupancy permit. 3, the applicant shall submit a construction management plan to be filed and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. This shall include the locations of stockpile and/or staging areas for construction equipment and materials. The applicant shall also address construction period traffic impacts by providing a detailed sequence of construction and addressing any space constraints and detailing how they'll be addressed as construction progresses. 4, the applicant shall restore the sidewalk and curbing along property frontage of McGrath Highway to finished condition once construction activities have concluded, as directed by the Department of Public Works. 5, the applicant shall obtain a stormwater connection permit and stormwater management permit from the Department of Public Works prior to the issuance of a building permit. 6, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall submit a final stormwater pollution prevention plan, SWIP plan, to the city engineering office for review and approval. 7, prior to the issuance of a building permit, as directed by the Department of Public Works, the existing sewer, service pipes, and water main shall be inspected with television pre-development in order to check the condition of the system. Television report shall be submitted to the Department of Public Works for assessment. 8, the city of Quincy and/or the city's designated representative shall observe the construction of the stormwater management system at the following times: upon completion of excavation, upon completion of the chamber and crushed stone installation, and prior to backfill. The applicant shall provide at least 72 hours notice for said inspections. 9, prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit, the applicant shall submit an operation and maintenance plan for the project stormwater system, which shall include the following: stormwater management systems owner, an estimated operation and maintenance budget, snow management and identification of any limitation or the use of salt and/or de-icing chemicals. Inspections shall be conducted by a civil engineer or environmental scientist. Records of inspections and maintenance shall be up to date and available for review and inspection. Prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit, the maintenance plan shall be recorded at the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. 10, the applicant shall provide to the city, to the Quincy Health Department. Actually, Cindy, here's the next 4 for you. The applicant shall provide to the Quincy Health Department a pre-demo survey for any potential asbestos-containing materials conducted by a DLI certified inspector. If ACM is present, it must be removed by a licensed contractor, and a post-abatement inspection must be performed by a DLI certified project monitor. A pre-demolition inspection of both structures shall be performed by the health department. 11, the applicant shall consult with the Quincy Health Department on noise mitigation measures for construction-related noise-generating activities to comply with local and state regulations. 12, the applicant shall submit a written rodent control plan to the Quincy Health Department for review and approval prior to any site activity. Said plan must be designed for the duration of the project, include at minimum the following: name and contact information of a licensed pest control operator to be retained by the project proponent for the duration of the project. Scope of the proposed plan for the control of rodents, including the number, location, and monitoring frequency of bait stations, as well as the anticipated length of service. 13, the applicant shall develop and submit a written dust control plan to the Quincy Health Department for review and approval prior to any site activity. Said dust control plan is to be implemented during any site activities to ensure compliance with state air quality regulations. 14, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall submit a photometric plan to the planning department for review and approval. 15, the applicant shall install stone or concrete survey monuments to delineate the public right-of-way. The monument shall be set by a professional land surveyor. 16, prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit, the applicant shall demonstrate compliance with section 8.3.9, the Public Art and Placemaking Program, by issuing a report for review and approval by the planning director. 17, upon completion of construction, the applicant shall submit a report, including certified as-built plan from a professional engineer or surveyor certifying that the stormwater management system has been constructed in accordance with the approved plans. The report should include a certification that the excavations of the proposed system were inspected prior to backfilling. Applicant shall also provide to the city engineer the digital file as-built plans showing all utilities, building footprints, reference bounds, and benchmarks defining the total site, facility, and rights-of-way, along with an AutoCAD file. The as-built plan shall be in a Mass State Plane coordinate system. The plan should be stamped and signed by a professional land surveyor or a professional engineer. That would conclude the department's recommendation.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anybody have a motion to approve consistent with the department's recommendation?
Motion to approve the department's recommendation?
Member
I'll second
Foley?
that.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Opposed? No. That's unanimous.
Thank you
Great, thank you very much.
Good luck with this.
Good luck.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Moving right along.
I have anything on 9 days. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is 90 School Street, Planning Board Case Number 2025-01. This is a new public hearing. This public hearing shall be conducted to review the application of Squaw Rock LLC, 1354 Hancock Street, Suite 203, Quincy, Mass. 02169 for site plan review under Quincy zoning ordinance, Title 17, Section 9.5.1, site plan review, and 5.1.17, parking waiver. The applicant proposes the removal of the existing commercial building and the construction of a new 4-story building consisting of 18 residential units along with 21 parking spaces. The proposal will also include professionally designed drainage controls. The property contains 9,833 square feet of land and is located at 90 School Street. The subject property is located within a Business B zoning district and shown on Assessor's Map 3005, Lot 28, Plot A. Good evening.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Christopher Harrington. I'm the attorney representing the owner, Robert Maddy, and my law office is at 21 McGrath Highway here in the city of Quincy. After your introduction, I'm not sure there's anything left to say about what this project's all about. This is a project that will remove an obsolete commercial building and replace it with a brand-new residential building. This is our property here on the right-hand side, the gray building. And next to us, the gas station on the left. That's another view of our building. That's our neighbor on Franklin Street. Our neighbor directly across the street. That's our neighbor to the right of our building. And Alfredo's and another gas station across the street. So that's basically the neighborhood where we're planning on building this. My client purchased this building about 7 years ago, and he's tried to put commercial tenants in the building. It hasn't worked. He put a new roof on the building, painted it, tried to make it more attractive to attract a commercial tenant, and he hasn't had any luck in finding any. So his goal is to change the use of this building to residential and try to put it to a much more beneficial use for himself as well as for the community. So this is what we're proposing to put on this property. It's an 18-unit building, 4 stories. Almost the entire first floor is parking, with the exception of the stairwells and the front lobby. He's proposing this 18-unit building with 21 parking spaces. And one of the unique things about this building is it has a mix of residential units. It has studios, 1 bedroom with an office, and 2 bedrooms. So it has a nice mix of units, so people who can't afford a 2-bedroom unit or who don't need a 2-bedroom unit have an option of being able to rent a smaller, more affordable apartment right in the city of Quincy. This building is directly across the street from the Quincy Center zoning district. So we hope that very soon, right across the street from us, will be a lot of new development and this will fit in beautifully with what's planned across the street. As I said, it's 4 stories, 42 feet tall. It's significantly larger than what's there now, but it's not a huge residential building compared to other buildings that are being built in the city today. The existing building essentially goes right to the lot line on 3 sides. This new building maintains essentially that same footprint, roughly the same front yard setback, and then it's right against the property lines on all 3 sides. The building itself, of the residential units, step back. So it's the first level, the parking level, that goes right to the property lines, but the building itself comes in so that it's not right on the property line, like the first floor parking is. We have with us Glenn Hoffman, who's the architect who designed the building. We also have Jim Burke, who's the engineer. They'll both speak about their designs and the features of the building and the features of the property that they're responsible for. We believe that by the end of this hearing, and after you received comments from peer review engineer and city departments, that you'll be able to find that this project does meet the requirements for a special permit in the city of Quincy. It does serve community needs with new, safe, affordable housing, and also the mixed types of housing, as I stated. The driveways, the doorways have all been designed specifically with pedestrian and vehicular safety in mind. There are adequate utilities. An interesting note, when Mr. Matty purchased this building, the building was not connected to the city sewer system. This building had a cesspool. Wasn't even a Title V approved or Title V compliant septic system. It was a cesspool. And so that's already been fixed. So that's one major improvement in terms of utilities. We believe that this building does fit the neighborhood character. There is a new residential building just a few doors down from here, which is not quite this big, but is similar. And with the Quincy Center development that will happen directly across the street, I think it will all fit in very nicely with the character of this neighborhood. There are no real significant impacts to the environment. The property is currently almost entirely impervious and pavement, and the new proposal is roughly the same thing. And as far as the fiscal impact, we believe it'll cost approximately $5 million to build this building. And so the city can look forward to having, $5 million of new growth and new property tax revenue. I'd like to ask Glenn Hoffman to come up and speak to you about his architectural plans.
Good evening. Thanks for hearing us, members of the board. For the record, my name is Glenn Hoffman, principal of GPH Design. I'm located at 1 Adams Street in Milton. I'm here to talk about 90 School Street. Chris gave a good description of the building. As he said, it's 18 units. The breakdown of the units, we have 3 studios, 6 one-bedrooms, 6 one-bedrooms with a den, and 3 two-bedroom units in this building. Due to its location near Quincy Center, we very much see this as a kind of commuter residence, and that's what I believe we'd be gearing our marketing towards. To talk about the building a little bit more, the building would be provided with an elevator, which is provided by code. Chris mentioned the setback. The setback isn't just a zoning issue, it's also a building code issue. We need to be a certain distance in back of the property line, and we have achieved that with this design in the residential units. The materiality of the building, the base floor where the parking is located would be steel structural system with CMU or some type of masonry facade. Right now, we're showing a CMU facade with an accent stripe. Above that, the building would be wood framed. The siding it's a mix of different types of cementitious siding. We have clapboard type siding and as also cementitious panels with either PVC or a cementitious detail at the corners and between the windows. That very much trying to keep with the context not only of the residential neighborhood, but also of similar type construction that's going on in Quincy. We're not looking to stand out here, we're looking to blend in and look like we fit in with Quincy Center. As Chris mentioned, we have 21 parking spots. So we'd have 1 per unit basically and 3 additional. Yep, sorry about that. Here we go. So we get to the site plan here. That's the parking plan. That front right-hand corner of the building is that's where the main lobby would be, where the elevator would be. That lobby's connected to the outside as well as the parking area. We would have some MAB and ADA issues to deal with as far as ramping up to that main entrance, which we've studied and talked about, and we know we can achieve that. He mentioned that there's the properties on the property line on 3 sides, so that door you see on the left-hand bottom side, that would be a second means of egress. To achieve that, that egress door needs to be visible from that stairwell, and that's why it's positioned as such. The handicap parking spot is located in proximity to the entrance of the building lobby. We also have some bike storage at the ground floor, and right now we are planning on having the trash in that back left-hand corner. That being said, I'm welcome to any questions from the board.
Well, why don't you go, I don't know.
Oh, you
if
wanna
there's
have
any
Jim
other-
present
Yes,
first? Yeah,
and then
let's
we
do
can
that.
ask questions at the end. I think that usually works best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Am I pushing these along? Okay, yep. This one seems to work better. Good evening again. Jim Burke with the Selberg Salas offices here in Quincy. We're the survey and civil engineers for this property at 90 School Street. It's a 9,833 square foot lot with a 6,938 square foot building sitting on top of it, kind of right on the property line in a lot of locations. It's in Business B. You can see that small sliver along School Street. That is it's basically, it's pavement that sheds towards School Street. The other large square that you see along School Street and it supported, it butts up against the gas station is a parking lot that actually slopes towards the building. There's a catch basin centrally located that the roof is tied into, and the parking lot drains to that as well. The soils there must be spectacular because everything drains to that one point. It is mapped as a Merrimack, which is a medium to coarse uniform sand. We're expecting that to help us support in what we're proposing. All the improvements too that you see on there are actually fairly new. The utilities, the sewer, the water, the gas, the electric. Bob Meddy's effort to kind of commercialize this lot was extensive. And so all the utilities are going to remain in use and they're pretty much brand new. This here is the construction management plan of, how we're gonna kind of the limit of work along School Street and how we're gonna protect that from erosion and sediment during construction. The layout you're looking at here is a 21 space parking layout representative of the first floor of the structure. It's pretty much, at street level. You'll see that that driveway that comes in off of School Street, it sheds towards School Street, but there is a trench drain that's going to capture that runoff and bring it back into the building, believe it or not. And we're going to bring it into a 21 chamber underground underneath the garage floor, 21 chamber Caltech system. We haven't done any soil testing yet. I did see the soil go in, and it is good granular stuff, but this is substantially larger than what's out there now, with the same watershed contributing to it. So I don't anticipate any sort of problem with that stormwater management system. As said earlier, the utilities are new, so we're going to continue using those. And I think that's all I have for you guys. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, just one issue that I skipped over is that right next to the driveway in this area right here, we've got a designated parking spot that's big enough for the Amazon truck and for ride shares to be able to pull in to pick up people who live at the building and delivery trucks to be able to make deliveries so that they do not have to stop on School Street and block traffic. They have a place where they can pull off the road and get out of the way.
One other thing I forgot to mention too, that obviously we're in preliminary stages, but to limit the impact on the 3 other sites, we had talked about possibly reusing the existing foundation and shoring it up, if possible. That it would help with cost, it would also help with, having to cross property lines to get this building built. Thank you.
That's it? Well,
Yep, that's our presentation. We're happy to answer any questions.
okay, great. Anybody have any?
Yeah, I have a few questions. I gotta be honest with you, building's a little big for that lot. That's my opinion. I see that, is that where that van is in that picture? Is that what you're saying, where the Amazon truck's gonna pull into?
Yes.
It's a very busy intersection there. I see that being a big problem. I don't think that's a big enough area for the Amazon van to pull in. Those trucks are big, they're bigger than a van sometimes, and you know where they're gonna park when they go there to deliver that, so that's something. I noticed, first, is condos or apartments?
Apartments,
They're apartment buildings?
yes.
And I noticed that all the electric rooms are stacked. Are they gonna have individual breakers in each room? I didn't see that on the drawings. Are you just-
at this time.
So you're gonna have an apartment building that, so is there gonna be a maintenance man on call at all times?
Likely each unit will have its own panel.
Because I don't see that working out very well with not having individual panels in each room. That's my opinion as an electrician. What are we doing? Are we doing heat pumps and are we doing EV charging stations? Heat pumps and EV charging stations there? EV charging stations.
I believe it's required, so there would be.
Well, I didn't see them on the drawing, that's why I was asking. I'm looking, these are things I look at, I don't see them.
These are preliminary drawings, we're not.
They're preliminary, so we're looking at preliminary drawings?
These are schematic design drawings at this point.
Okay, so we're not looking at finished drawings, right?
No.
So are we wasting our time here?
Well, we're not preparing complete drawings until a building permit. We're not gonna have a complete set of drawings.
I don't
until we
need
apply
it
for a
to
building
complete, but
permit.
a lot of times we see a lot more accurate drawings that show panels in rooms and things of that nature. But anyways, the last thing, and what's the lighting outside? What type of lighting are we gonna have outside?
We would have to have code compliant lighting on the exterior of the building.
So is it gonna cast shadows out onto the street, or what type of lighting? Are they gonna be down lighting, sconces? Are they gonna be pole lightings? Are they gonna be
So-
down lighting?
It's all gonna be shielded down lighting that.
Okay, I
straight-
can't see
straight
that,
down.
again, I can't see that on the drawing, so those are just questions I have.
Okay.
So,
Member Liuzzo, any questions? Okay. Any
I
questions?
had-
Yes,
yeah,
Member
and,
Cole.
first of all, just a clarification. The right-hand side on the train track, on the rail side, the building's on that property line?
Correct, but there is land on the other side.
That's what I was
Can
wondering, when I saw this
Can
triangular.
I just interrupt for a second? If you're going to answer,
Oh,
can you
yeah.
just
Sorry.
come to the podium? It's just for
Thank you.
folks.
Thank you.
watching.
No, it's
Thank
just.
you.
in
Yeah,
the-
they're right on the property line. That's a swath of land between the tracks and our property
Okay, I just
line.
wanted to clarify that, thank you.
I
And the
wish
oth-
we owned that land.
And the other thing is, you're gonna have an overhead door at that garage entrance, I assume, correct?
Abs-
It's gonna open and close?
We had an overhead door, now we're showing open with a grate.
Okay, that's
But
because
yes,
I was
there will
gonna
be a
say,
security
you'd be
grate at the very
sitting on
least.
on the sidewalk.
It won't be
while-
open.
It will be open.
It won't be open. It'll be either a grate or it'll be a door.
Okay, because, well, maybe I'm reading it wrong, I think the car would be sitting on the sidewalk while waiting for the door.
That's the
to-
delivery spot. That's the Amazon van.
Okay, I'm looking at this 8-foot wide entrance here for the driveway. You know, if there's enough room for a car to get up to that door, I'm just thinking that we might have a car sitting on a public sidewalk, waiting for the door to open or close. I could be reading it wrong.
This shouldn't be. There should be enough space. That's,
The building's far enough back that a car.
It is?
Pull off
Yes.
the street.
Okay, all right, because I
Yeah.
couldn't determine that without
yeah,
a
the
sketch of
garage
the
door is
sidewalk.
definitely more than 8 feet wide. It's 16 feet wide, I believe.
Okay, all righty, and so long as, because I did see, like, on the inside, there's not parking spaces, but the very first spot's right up against the front. It's just kind of empty space, you know, next to the parking spaces. And, you know, I didn't know if that was gonna be a problem, if we could set the front of the building back to just that extra couple of feet. Leave the facade overhead, floors 1, 2, and 3.
Typically, you want to have some turning radius as you're pulling out of that parking spot, and that's why you wouldn't have the parking
Okay,
space right
all
up
right.
against the
You know,
building.
I'm just thinking of the proximity of the front of that building to the street. And you could still maintain floors 1, 2, and 3 at the same
Correct.
same facade, and just cantilever a bit. If that first floor, or if the ground level floor were pushed back a bit. Just some thoughts, and I'll look forward to further discussion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Maureen? Okay, I do have a few questions. So, just so I get clarification, I think you just said it was something was 16 feet, but what's the setback of the building where the driveway is? Are you saying that's 16 feet, or were you saying the width of?
No, I was saying the width of it's actually 18 feet. The width of the garage door is 18 feet.
Okay, and what's the setback of the building in that area where the driveway is?
Jim, do you have that on you?
Because I think that gets to Member Foley's question. Well, let's say to the property line,
Property line?
yeah.
The corner, the closest it's there, it's 7.6. As the
Yeah.
curb runs, you're probably looking more like 9 feet. But like I said, you've got a full car length to the curb line.
Including on the street roadway?
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
All right. And then in terms of that visitor parking space, that's somebody's going to have to back out of that space on School Street?
You mean the
The,
delivery space?
The delivery space?
Yes,
Yep.
exactly.
Okay. All right.
Exactly. And I understand, I'm in that intersection all the time, and it stacks, no question. The delivery driver that's lucky enough to get that spot, you're just gonna have to wait for the goodness of others. I'm one of them, I'll let them in. Yeah, it's right close to the intersection, but we thought it was better to have it than not. So,
Okay. All right. So I would say, just from my perspective, it's a concern in terms
Yep.
of having to back out.
Mhm.
Let me see. So any on-site kind of residential, so you're going from a commercial use to a residential use, any on-site amenity for, I mean, I can't imagine where it would be, but for residents, right? So like dog parks, we see a lot,
We have a
anything.
small area for dog, to walk your dog. We don't necessarily have a dog park.
Okay.
We do recognize that Quincy has a dog park pretty close up the street. We do have a workout area within the building as an amenity.
Bicycle storage?
Bicycle storage in the
Okay,
basement
nice.
and the parking area.
All right. Let me see. Oh, so just, you're right up against the tracks there, so is there anything being, I guess, installed or considered for construction relative to noise proofing of these units? You know, anything for vibration, any consideration in terms of that?
It's definitely gonna be a design consideration for the units that are on the tracks, whether it's soundproof windows, sound-resistant assemblies on that exterior wall, definitely, for sure.
Would that change the width of the wall at all, or, I mean?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It could, but not necessarily. There are assemblies that are literally the same width as a regular wall. It's just what's inside the wall that's doing the work of blocking the sound.
Okay.
Impact sound too, not just because we are talking about train tracks. It's impact sound as well as airborne sound.
Parking space, could we pull up just the plan with the parking spaces on it again, by chance? Okay, so I would just say, I have some concern about, I think you spoke about turning radius earlier, that space that's right up against the, yes, because you have the handicap space, so already I think difficult for the handicap space, you're not going to necessarily, as far as I can tell, turn to go out if you're exiting. I think you're gonna have to do a weird.
Looking at it, it might be this might be a more comfortable turn if we literally just kept this at 90 degrees with the other parking spots. So you could back in and pull out without having to make this really wide.
Yeah, I guess I would still be concerned, if you could prepare, I guess, a schematic with turning, because it seems, even with the handicap space, if you have a car it's right, it's going to be difficult to get out there, especially if you straighten.
Understood, but to get a 21st parking space in there, that was.
No, I understand,
that was the way we could get
but
it
if
to
it's
go.
not feasible,
We could have it,
what good is having?
You could have it a compact spot, and
If
more
I-
than sufficient.
Yeah.
if I may,
Yes,
the turning radius I see, you come in and you swing in towards the handicap ramp, or lay down area, I guess, and the striped area, and then you back in, and then you pull out. To me, the movement's easy, but I see what you're saying. I think maybe Glenn's right. We would have to see what the dimensions are.
Yeah.
I think the 24 feet's there, if I'm not mistaken. I wouldn't have put the space there if you didn't have the 24 feet. But, like I say, I mean, it's,
Mrs. Beeline,
if you don't stripe it, someone's parking there. So,
are you talking about the backup coming out of the handicap
Yeah,
spot?
I'm talking about
Or getting into
backup.
that spot?
Yeah, I would say both. I think both present kind of practical
Pull in
concerns.
and back in,
right.
instead of just pulling in.
Because you have, that's 8 feet, and then plus the additional 2 or 3 feet that you have to the wall there. There's a lot of room for maneuver there. But we can certainly provide the turn,
Yeah, it just seems, I mean,
yeah.
I'm just
not a problem.
imagining it, but it just seems a little bit tight. So that was a concern. Oh, construction right up against the lot line. You touched on this because you said, you know, I think it was presented as a raise and rebuild, but then tonight we hear you want to keep.
It is, but we've discussed reusing at least part of the existing foundation and shoring it up from the inside, so that we don't have to dig out and put in a whole new foundation.
Okay. I mean, in terms of construction, I would say even height-wise, and maybe this is accomplished by the stepping back, I think you're going to need construction easements on virtually every side of this building to get onto other property to construct and build out. I mean, you can't just go on somebody else's property to construct.
It's only an
a
issue with
building.
the first floor.
Yeah, so
not
that
an
was a
issue.
question I had. So,
And that's
so
why
is
we
this,
would shore up the foundation from the inside. Yeah, you're correct, that you're gonna impact your adjacent properties somewhat.
so is this, so if you're not able to reuse your existing foundation, right, which we heard for the first time tonight, are you able to build this building?
Yes, there are foundation systems we could utilize to make this happen.
Okay, assuming you can't get permission to go on the neighboring property, you can construct?
Correct.
Okay.
They're potentially more expensive though, because your footings aren't even on either side. You're kind of doing an L-shaped footing. It's a different structural system.
Okay. Let me see. Oh, where are the utilities? And this is probably going off of what Member Kelly was saying. Are they on the roof? Is that what's being proposed?
Fresh air would be on the roof for sure, Rob, right?
As far as the air handlers?
Yeah, it would have to be on the roof.
Yeah.
In the end, the heat pump units would be within the units.
Okay. Okay.
So your heating and your air conditioning are self-contained within the units, and your fresh air is coming from the roof.
Okay. And any sort of venting, right? I mean, I will tell you, I'm concerned that there's zero setback and you're maintaining zero setback, but essentially putting a new building with zero setback, and a new building that's a lot more intensive use than a commercial kind of passive and a use that isn't really being made at present. So I think it's a concern. So I do think more detail is necessary for us to be in a position to review, given that concern.
I guess is this regarding HVAC systems? Or?
No, just generally. I mean, I would think, maybe
'Cause again,
venting.
the building is only on the property line on the first level.
So what is the setback on the second
5
level?
feet.
Okay. Around, that's.
Correct, all three
okay.
sides.
Any other questions at the moment?
I mean, just to touch on so I'm assuming that you're gonna have 18 units, you're gonna have 18 condensers up on the roof, correct?
Correct.
And they'll be 3 feet tall?
Not necessarily, they might be smaller than that. These are small units. I can't imagine the condensers are gonna be that large.
I'm gonna say they're gonna be 3 feet tall. That's my opinion.
3 feet I actually will take, because we can keep those out of the sight line from the street. I'm confident of that. Especially where it's only 18.
Well, especially when it's so close to the front property line, too, as opposed to that you're looking.
We can definitely keep those setbacks or right up. And we can do sightline studies as well if that's helpful.
Okay. Is there any other
No
questions
questions
at
right
the
now,
moment? Okay,
Madam
Mr.
Chair.
Sheets, anything?
No.
Okay. All right, so I think I'll open it to public comment. It is a public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on this? Yes.
Good evening, Deborah Riley, 9 Landgrain Street. I am looking at this project and I'm a little bit concerned, and some of the members have already maybe touched upon this. about the relief that they're looking for on green space. 43 square feet per dwelling unit versus the 400 that's required, which, you know, I can see for a warehouse or an industrial building would be perfectly fine, but for a residential building to have no green space to speak of, I'm guessing the only green space of the however amount I figured out would be on the train track side. So, you know, nobody's going to sit on a bench out there, or, you know, at least some number of these residents will have a dog, some number of these residents will have children, some number of these residents will have both, and to have no green space surrounding this is concerning. They're also looking for relief on the parking, so the green space isn't given up so that you can conform to the parking. You're kind of putting a lot of hardscape around what should be. So I'd like to see the board consider pressing for a little bit more green space on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else here wishing to speak on this project? Anyone else? I'll remind you, there are sign-in sheets, so if you want to sign in, you can do that as well. No? Okay. All right, so obviously, I think we need a continuance on this one. And is there a recommendation in terms of how far?
It's 5 weeks, sorry, Chairman
Yep.
Beelen, through you to the board. It is 5 weeks to the February meeting, so there is an extra week. A lot of times we see 4, but I don't think we've gotten any technical reviews here, and there's probably gonna be at least one round of healthy, comments and then responses. And, 5 weeks could be tough, but, more likely, March, with the month in between might be appropriate, but I would report to the board, we have 1 case for February that's in, 1 new case. There's about another week and a half to go, outside of doing the Quincy Street recommendation. I'm open, for a month, and if things aren't ready, we just continue and come back in March. I don't know if council has a thought. You kind of heard some feedback.
Yeah, as soon as,
I'm
yeah.
expecting the peer reviewer, the city engineer, the traffic, and then you're probably gonna have to respond, so.
Right. I'm assuming the peer review report comes in relatively soon. We're ready to respond to it as quickly as possible, so. We would request February, and as you said, if the reports still aren't in, if things are still outstanding, we can always just continue it again.
Yeah, there's also been an emphasis by the board in the past too, to try to get information in a week prior to a meeting to allow, the members time enough to digest. Not always the case, but we do our best on that. So, that's that 5 weeks. So you really got 4 to work with here. We can, get on the departments and the peer reviewer, see where their status is.
Okay.
That's sort of my thoughts. We don't have a busy agenda at this point. Not to say we won't get more cases. But we know we also don't like to call the public out and not have a meeting for no reason. I would be confident that March, that would have a healthy back and forth and hopefully going in with a recommendation.
Yeah, so, I do want, I think, to extend you professional courtesy. You're asking for February. That being said, from my perspective, there are significant concerns that the board expressed tonight in coming back, I guess, in 4 weeks with a project that looks kind of identical to this or virtually identical. I'm going to view it, I would say, as a waste of the board's time. So I would be inclined to move it out to March, just because I think that there's a lot that needs to be addressed and some more specific details that need to be provided to get this to a project that we could review or approve. I think that there's a lot of information that we need, so I would be inclined to March. That's my thought.
So it'd be March 19th is the specific.
I make a motion, we move it to the March 19th meeting.
Okay, so-
Second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Okay, so the business meeting item. So first is request for extension of the 2-year time limit on permit approval for 1562 and 1570 Hancock Street.
Hello, Madam Chair, through you to the board. This would be the second 6-month extension. The department supports this extension. We would report to the board that the work done in the last 6 months was substantial, and it resulted in a full submission of modified plans just at the end of December. So the department is currently reviewing that. The last extension does run out on February 4th, but this is the last meeting before that. So at an abundance of caution, we asked the proponent to provide another 6-month extension request. We believe this would be the last and final extension, and we're trending in the right direction on this project. Still may need a touch back with that board, but at this point, the department is working through the comments, so, in the new plans.
Okay, great. So is there a motion to extend?
Motion to extend by 6 months?
Second.
Sorry. It would be 6 months from
March,
February
April, May,
4th, right?
June, July, August.
Okay. All right, so that was Member Liuzzo.
I'll second
Member
it.
Kelly. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you. I'll take the next 3 business items as a group. As you guys know, this board is responsible for overseeing the subdivision control law, of which the approval not required process is a plan where property owners can submit a plan to change property lines. The department reviews it in coordination with the chair, and there is 3 of them on the agenda for this week. The first one is an A&R plan for 108 Lenox Street. This project has received, it was a large parcel down in the neck that had a second house or structure built on that. So this A&R plan is post-construction dividing the properties. So now there'll be 2 separate tax IDs. The relief was granted by the zoning board to build the house under the dimensions, so it all, meets the approval not required process. The second project is 506-514 South Street. This one is an interesting one. This is a preliminary adjustment in making way for development. There's a new owner of this property, and he discovered that an existing retaining wall kind of went back and forth between the abutting property and his property. He wanted to control that retaining wall because he does propose to a new development, new residential development. So we worked out a deal with the abutter where they're kind of swapping either side of the retaining wall. So the new property line will keep the retaining wall on the one property, 506, and we would expect to see that later down the road as a new full site plan review application. The third A&R plan is 2 South Central Terrace, same as the first one. This was a project that had a large yard. The zoning board approved residential construction under the, with the dimensional requirements. It has been built, so this is a plan, again, establishing a new property line and new taxable properties. So those are the 3 A&R plans. Any questions from anybody? All right, fantastic. So that'd complete the department's report on the business items.
Great. And the next hearing is February?
February 19th. As you heard, we have the business of Quincy Street's recommendation, and then there's so far 1 new application in.
Great. Thank
So
you.
there's still about another week and a half to go on the deadline, but that looks, looking forward, that's what February looks like.
Great.
Motion to adjourn?
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All
And,
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And just the A&R plans are out back if everyone can sign them before they go. Thank you.